Hey there, alley cats! Are we still liking this nickname? I was kinda digging it initially to not have such a bland intro, but I don't know anymore. I'm starting this Q&A with a question of my own. 2020 is wild. I haven't done a Q&A for a couple years, but I had some requests over the past few months to do another one, so why not? I've compiled new questions from various social media, including my Twitter, Discord, and community tab of my channel, as well as some old ones that I didn't answer last time I meant to do one of these videos, and I never did. Some questions relating to various games, some personal questions, some serious questions, some silly questions, and everything in between. For the most part, I'm also not going to include any questions I've already answered in my previous Q&A videos unless the answers have drastically changed. So if you asked a question and it was not answered, then I likely already addressed it in a previous video, and some questions that are similar I'll be combining into one for convenience's sake. My channel, my rules. So let's get started. Have you ever staffed outside of Hypixel? Actually, yes, which almost no one knows because it didn't last long at all and I didn't do much of anything really. Several years ago when I was still a mod on Hypixel, I was in a guild that has since disbanded, and I already have a video I'm working on talking all about it and why I don't like guilds because of the experiences I dealt with among these people. But we had our own server. The guild owner brought in members solely based on status, and having Hypixel staff in his guild was the ultimate status symbol. I wasn't the only one, but I was the most active, so when it came time to staff people for the guild server, which was going to be open to the public, I was tagged to be staff manager. I was in charge of staff applications and ban appeals. I wrote up guides and rules and all kinds of shit that never got put to use because that guild quickly turned into a huge dumpster fire. And it was completely dissolved shortly after I left. So in all technicality, even though I didn't do much overall, I have staffed on another server and I was in charge. It was kinda nice, but like I said, the guild was a mess, and I'll talk more about it some other time. Have you ever beaten any Pokemon games? I'm embarrassed to say no. I've never beaten any Pokemon games, but that's mainly because I never owned any Pokemon games as a kid. I was always behind on getting any sort of consoles and handheld game devices, so the majority of my gaming was done on the PC. I did a few years ago buy Soul Silver for the Nintendo DS, and I played that for a while, but I never finished it. Maybe one day. What languages do you speak? Well, I can barely speak English properly half the time, but I guess I'd count that. I took a couple years of German in high school, but most of it was not retained since I never had to use it again, and the majority of what I learned just fell right out of my head. And I know handfuls of words in different languages like Spanish, Dutch, French, though not nearly enough to be able to hold any sort of conversation. So basically, I just know one language, which is English, because I'm a big dum-dum. What do you think about the most recent mod wave? To be honest, since I'm no longer on the team, I don't really keep up with the names of staff members because there's just too many to keep track of and people keep coming and going, and it's just not worth the effort for me. That being said, some names do stand out if there's been drama or controversy surrounding certain individuals, because that's something the community is very vocal about whenever it happens. And I've said on my Twitter, but I feel like it would be in Hypixel's best interest to avoid bringing people with sketchy histories onto the staff team and promoting them, because that's what people will often focus on. Well, that's all I've got to say about that. Can you talk about blah 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 blah? This is the most common question I get all the time. People wanting me to make a video on this person doing that, or that person doing this. And for the most part, the answer is no. I've talked about certain people where I don't give their real names, and those times where I have, it's only been done under very specific circumstances. And in general, whenever someone asks me to make a video on a particular scenario or a person, I don't have any details on the situation, and it's very difficult to get a decent amount of information or sufficient proof. That doesn't mean I might not post something about it on Twitter if I feel it's something that should be brought to the public's attention or to give my opinion on it. And I'm sorry if this is disappointing news to anyone, but it's very unlikely that I will make a video on specific people just because someone asks me to. Have you ever been banned on Hypixel? Technically, yes. When I was still staff, my social media got compromised by someone I knew who had my password, and even though they didn't seem to have access to my Minecraft account, the managers gave me a precautionary ban anyway until I could confirm that everything was safe. So I do have a ban on my record that I don't think was ever wiped, but it's not for breaking the rules or anything like that. What do you usually do in your free time besides YouTube? Free time? I don't know who that is. Never heard of her. This This is a repeat question, but I wanted to include it as an opportunity to update the answer and mention some stuff that's been going on. I've occasionally talked about how busy I've been during this pandemic since I am technically considered an essential worker because I work as a nanny and my job is currently full-time, which unfortunately I had expected to drastically cut down on my hours by now to focus on my channel under normal circumstances, but obviously I haven't been able to do that. I'm hoping to make a more detailed video at some point as a sort of update announcement type thing, since I have been getting messages about why I haven't been uploading as much as I was last year. But to answer the question on a serious note, I don't really have much free time between work, household chores, and slowly chipping away at other projects I have, like videos for my channel, the book series I'm writing, partly because I always feel the need to be productive. Which might not be the best for me, but in the few moments of free time I have, I will play the chillest, most casual games I can manage, like Sims or Minecraft single player, just to have a little bit of chance for relaxation. Are you going to do any more retail horror stories? I want to! I really do! I have so many stories I want to share with you all from my time working in retail, my time working as a nanny, and just a bunch of other fun things. In fact, I have a list of a lot of stories I want to talk about eventually, but for those videos I decided it wasn't interesting enough to have me just sitting in front of a camera like I did for the first one. So what I want to do eventually is have sort of animated story times. I say sort of because I can't do animation in the usual sense like you see from all the amazing and talented animation YouTubers, but instead I'd be doing something similar like certain videos I've done that have a ton of still pictures strung together to give the idea of movement, if that makes sense. I actually started working on the first video last year and even made an announcement about it that, hey, this series is coming soon. But that was one of those instances where I was so desperate to get all my ideas out there for things I wanted to do that I overloaded myself and needed to take a break at the end of the year. It is something I will get to eventually, but I want to make sure I do it right and not rush to get it out just because I feel like I have to. So in the meantime, I'm trying to get a good drawing tablet. I bought one a while back, but it just did not end up working for me with how it functions. And I want to practice drawing since I used to draw a lot back in high school and I was pretty good at it, but it's not something I've done for a long time. And that was also with pencil and paper. Going digital is a whole new thing to get used to. So those videos will come eventually, but like most other long-term projects for my channel, it could take some time due to current circumstances. But it'll happen one day. I will make sure of it. How is your sleep and eating schedule? Essentially, how are you doing currently? I wasn't expecting a question like this, and I truly appreciate your concern. I'm doing about as well as I can be in the current circumstances, being constantly busy, yet still feeling like I'm not being productive enough. So I've been trying to keep a consistent sleep schedule and not relying on quick meals or fast food just to have a little extra time to work on certain projects. But I don't always do as well with that as I would like. I just gotta keep in mind that this situation is only temporary, and hopefully it'll be better once we reach the other side. And I hope all of you are doing okay as well, and if you're not, then I'm with you there. We'll be stressed and miserable together. Are there more Hypixel or staff stories you have planned to make a video about? I will admit I am running out of stories. I'm not nearly as interesting as many people have hoped in order to make this a continuous, forever ongoing series. I do have a couple left that I plan to make videos about eventually, including the one I already mentioned about the terrible, awful guild. That one's already in the works and will hopefully be done sometime soon-ish. What do you think the world will be like by the end of 2021? At this point, I'm just hoping the world is still here. I'm not gonna finish 2020. 2020 is gonna finish me. But ideally, by the end of next year, we'll be past this pandemic situation and things will be back to normal. That's all I can really hope for at this point. What is your favorite Disney movie? Hands down, The Little Mermaid. Always has been since I was a kid and probably always will be. Of course, I love pretty much all the successful Disney movies. Have to include that stipulation in there because there were some real stinkers post-Disney Renaissance. But I've always had a fascination with more fantasy elements like mermaids, fairies, dragons. So even though I know critically The Little Mermaid is not the absolute best, it holds a very special place in my heart. So I'm very anxious for the upcoming live-action remake, and I really hope it's not terrible. But the track record of the live-action remakes so far have not been in the favor of quality. Are you going to make any more reading mean comments or reading nice comments videos? Yes, I have a reading mean comments in the works. I just need to find the time for a very, very long recording session because this one is going to be a little more special. I don't want to give anything away yet, but it'll be a fun time. Who is your least favorite YouTuber? Doesn't need to be Minecraft. Oh boy, this one surely isn't going to result in any backlash at all, but pretty much anyone who is consistently problematic and often acts very irresponsibly nearly all the time, especially when they have a younger and more impressionable audience. This usually encompasses some of the bigger YouTubers like Jake and Logan Paul, Trisha Paytas, Tana Mojo, Gabby Hanna, Keemstar, Jeffree Star. The last one I think I actually named as one of my favorites in a Q&A a few years ago before I came to my senses. The thing is, I don't mind a mild boneheaded move occasionally. I've certainly made my fair share of mistakes, but I have an issue whenever it's something really bad and or it becomes normal behavior. Basically people who get rich off of being assholes. I'm just not a fan. How do you normally play Minecraft? Vanilla, Hypixel Bed Wars, Skyblock, Cubecraft, Mineplex? So I'll admit, I don't play much Minecraft on my own outside of single player unless I'm recording. And yes, I do have a survival world going that I recorded a lot of its progress for my channel and I'm still recording whenever I can. This next video is just gonna be a huge building project, so that's why I haven't posted anything for that series in like a year. But anyway, except for video purposes when I'm doing other games, for the most part, I don't play on Hypixel much. And I don't go on other servers, so it is just Hypixel. No mods, except Optifine because I'm boring. And I'll usually just log on once or twice a day to do Skyblock stuff. It's not very exciting. Mostly because that's all I have time for these days, but as always, if you guys have suggestions, you can always let me know in the comments. Or better yet, if you want to force me to make a video of your choice, that is a perk for the executive producer tier of my Patreon. In fact, I have some videos of those I need to record that's on my to-do list sometime in the near future. So just throwing that out there if you're interested. If you had to pick one thing to add or change completely about Hypixel, what would it be? I can only pick one? Oh man, this is gonna be tough. Assuming that going back in time and retroactively changing anything is out of the question, I would add a VPN blocker to Hypixel. And I know people are going to disagree with me about this, and that's completely fine. Your opinions are absolutely valid, but I think at this point, this would be the best addition to Hypixel to prevent ban evading, since that's been a major issue on the server with cheaters. Once they get banned, they can just grab a stolen alt account for pennies, hop on a VPN, and get right back to hacking within minutes. There are people who use VPNs for security reasons, but I think not being able to use a VPN for legitimate reasons would just have to be an unfortunate casualty of a blocker. Because right now, there is sort of an alt prevention system in place, but one, it's easy to bypass for those who really want to, and two, it only gives a ban for an account security alert which can be appealed and reduced to 30 days. The problem with this is that it ends up punishing those who actually have security problems with their account, those who should be able to get unbanned or at least have a shorter ban once their account is secure, because 30 days is extremely excessive. And I don't want to hear the typical staff excuse of, oh, it's a recovery period, so players will take account security more seriously. No, that is not why this was added. I know for a fact that's been confirmed by former staff that this 30-day ban was added in an attempt to combat ban evading, since 30 days is the starting ban for cheating. So then adding a VPN blocker would eliminate the need for this ridiculous policy that punishes people just for having security issues. And it would help drastically cut down on hackers using countless alts to ruin games. Is there anything new with Wart or Pimple? If you could change anything about them, what would you change? Well, if I could change anything, it's that they would be more content in their own lives so that they wouldn't have to take their insecurities out on others. That should be a given. But nothing new with Pimple, at least. I think she, or he, I should say, since they were only pretending to be a girl. Anyway, I think he has actually grown up into a legal adult by now since so much time has gone by, so I'd like to think he's matured at least a bit and has found something more productive to do with his time. As for Wart, oh boy. Gotta wait until the next reading mean comments for that one. Favorite Minecraft biome? There's a lot of biomes I like, such as ice spikes, savanna, but my favorite by far is the mushroom biome. It's got the appeal of being so rare and hard to find in normal worlds. Hostile mobs can't spawn on the terrain, so that's always nice. And I mean, hello, those mushroom cows are heckin' cute. Mushroom biome is best biome, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise. Could you tell us your current opinion about Hypixel in general in 1 to 2 sentences? Oh wow, trying to cut down my rambling and make me get right to the point. I see how it is, but I respect it. I'll have to think about that. I guess I would say there have been many bad choices over the past couple years, but recent and upcoming changes have me cautiously hopeful for improvement. What was it like coming back onto the server after everyone thought you were dead? I posted a video talking more about this, but during a time when I was gone for a significant amount of time for health reasons, at some point word had gotten around that I apparently died. And my phone had been completely out of battery for a while. I didn't have a working charger, unfortunately, so when I came home and plugged it in, I had so many alerts and notifications suddenly flooding in, my phone literally buzzed right off the table. At first it was almost funny to sort of be like, hey guys, I know you think I'm dead, but I'm back, haha. And that also went with the whole zombie mod shtick, but it had really messed up some of the people I was closest to when the news had gotten to them. And that's something I still feel really guilty about. It was even worse because the whole situation was the result of someone from my personal life who I thought I could trust to handle things if something unfortunate did end up happening, and they took advantage of that trust and abused it for malicious purposes. And they did it specifically in a way that caused a whole lot of trouble for me with certain people, and overall, it's just not really something I enjoy remembering. What advice would you give to the young people in their interactions with strangers and staff on a Minecraft server? When it comes to interacting with anyone online, not just on Minecraft, but the entire internet, you have to be extremely cautious. Don't put too much trust and faith into anyone, no matter how friendly they are or how well you think you might know them. Don't give them anything like information or photos or whatever that you would be uncomfortable to give a random stranger. I understand that I'm saying this as someone who has a bunch of online friends and also met my current boyfriend of almost 4 years online, so obviously not everyone is going to be dishonest and malicious. But especially when you're younger and more vulnerable to someone trying to take advantage of you, it's better to just be on the safe side. What is the craziest thing you have done? This is going to sound insane just saying it, but I think the craziest thing I've ever done is kind of a 2-for-1. I did my very first tattoo on my own when I was 16 years old, and then several years later, I also removed it by myself. And there's no way in hell I'm going to describe how I did either of these because it is incredibly stupid and potentially dangerous, and I don't want someone to make the same mistakes I did. It was the name of the guy I was dating at the time, along with a flowery design that starts on my hip and goes almost all the way up to my ribs. So it's a pretty sizable thing, which was super fun to hide during the summer at the pool. The name was the only part that got removed. Don't ever get someone's name tattooed on you, even by a professional. It's just a bad idea all around. Speaking of which, I also did a tattoo on my friend in high school of a guy she was supposedly dating. I say supposedly because she was definitely being catfished and everyone knew it, but she was in major denial. But I did the tattoo anyway because I was a bad friend and she promised to pay me even though she never did. And then her mom found out about it and I was banned from their house forever. So karma, I guess. And I also did 2 tattoos on the guy I was dating whose name I put on me. So we were just making all sorts of bad decisions. If Kay purchased the top tier for $500 from your Patreon to choose a tattoo for you, would you do it? And how would you feel about it? Part of me would be very tempted to take his money and tell him to fuck off, but that would likely just get me in trouble with the Patreon site, so I would just immediately refund his money and block him. I don't want that creepy little pervert in my life in any way, shape, or form ever again. If you never became a staff member on Hypixel, do you think you would have applied for staff someplace else? Probably not, since I've never really been involved in any other Minecraft communities. I've tried some other servers, but none of them really had the same appeal to me as Hypixel did. And even those I could have liked eventually never stuck around long enough before getting shut down. If someone hacked into Hypixel and ripped the staff managers and owners from their authority positions on the server and somehow promoted you to the new owner, what would you do now that the horrible staff managers have lost their power? Well, that's an oddly specific question. I honestly don't think this is even possible with the systems whatnot in place, but for the sake of the question, I still probably can't give a non-boring answer, unfortunately. But since the staff manager who was widely considered to be the biggest problem isn't even on the team anymore, I guess I'd just hand power back over to the admins so I don't get sued, because that's no fun. Have you spoken to Proline since the video you posted about him? Do you have any negative feelings towards him after everything that happened? Yes, we did talk for a bit since he saw the video and he even commented, but I removed it because he gave a hint to the identity of someone in the video who was meant to be kept anonymous. And I figured it would be better for us to talk privately anyway. He said, "I'm in contact with a couple people from Hypixel, so they told me to watch. I will say there are things here and there that are wrong or a little off." Not sure what he meant by that since he never specified. "But most of it is correct. You were a little clingy, but not that bad. Just like you say in this video, you loved me, you were in love with me, even though I didn't want that at the time. Which I felt bad about, then didn't want to lead you on either. Then things really fell apart. It had nothing to do with Flum, his ex-girlfriend. You were probably one of the nicest people I ever met. I remember one of the saddest parts in my life was that video you sent me. I won't give details, but maybe you remember it. That was the worst." What that is referring to is back what I mentioned before when I was sick and away for a while. I had filmed some videos for people I was closest to as sort of a goodbye message in case the worst happened, which ended up getting sent out due to situations beyond my control. So Proline thought I was dead for a while, and he's told me before that it kind of fucked him up. The guy you interviewed that doesn't want to be named, I know exactly who that is, and then he gives a hint to his identity, just goddammit. And I loved playing and being loyal to him because, like you said, I was a tryhard, so playing with other good people was fun. This part's directed towards that person. If you are reading this, I loved playing UHC with you. Sorry if you didn't feel anything from me, I was just trying to game it up. I enjoyed our game time, even though with all the rage, you were a good, reliable teammate. Then he goes on, "The living together thing felt like you thought of it as a couple when I just wanted a roommate I got along with no future plans and that, so it scared me off a little." Which I don't really understand this part because I didn't say anything he hadn't already said before, like it would be great to live together, it could be like old times when it was good between us, stuff like that. I talked more about that in the video I posted. Overall, I have no bad feelings and still wish we talked, but not sure how that would work with your current situation, referring to my current relationship, even though we almost never talked before I started dating someone else anyway. Anyway, yeah, shit got really bad. I think if we used each other, it was mutual, and I can't disagree with this because I think we were both in a situation beforehand and got involved because we wanted to feel better and forget about what happened in our personal lives. But one of us was definitely used more than the other, so I'll just leave that there. I probably won't see the comments again, but you know how to contact me, so all good. P.S. I do agree dating online is a bad idea, so trying to do it in person is the only choice. P.S. Again, I was always a ragey tryhard, unfortunately, even when I played Blitz back in the OG days. I just didn't have all these people constantly spamming to me until, like, after Horse 10. It was kinda cool for a bit, but then it became a real pain in the ass trying to play any game mode. So I wasn't really vocal until all that shit started. Then the server became just a huge toxic fest, including me as well, and I didn't enjoy playing anymore. So that's fair enough, and like I said, we did talk some more for a while afterwards about what we'd been up to since we last chatted, and some things about the video and other stuff. It was okay, I guess, just a bit awkward at times because there's obviously that intense history there that's never going to go away. As for if I have any negative feelings towards Proline, I mentioned in the video that I'm always going to care for him in some way, and I wish for nothing but good things for him, and I don't think he intended to basically manipulate and gaslight me by saying certain things and acting all sweet and compassionate for a time, then getting angry whenever I reciprocated, but it definitely affected me in a really bad way, and it still does. Like I said in the video, this was a long time ago and I've moved on, but not all scars can fully heal, even ones that aren't physical. And I suppose my answer about how I feel would change depending on the day. Like, sometimes I can be more forgiving and understanding of his mindset and what he was dealing with at the time and make all sorts of excuses on his behalf. But then other days, not so much. To think about the betrayal I felt, for lack of a better word, from someone I was so close to and trusted with everything I had. There were a surprising number of comments on that video which were armchair diagnosing some sort of personality disorder or some tendencies of a disorder that could have caused him to behave in the way he did, which seems possible. I'm not a mental health professional, so I can't say for sure one way or the other. Though it would certainly be nice to be able to pin the blame on some malfunction in his brain and say, oh, he couldn't help himself for acting in such a way that literally caused me to have PTSD over a text ringtone. But I don't know. I'm glad people responded positively to that video, so I think that's the note I want to leave this question on. At this point in Hypixel's condition, do you wish Kay was still a staff manager despite everything he once did to the female staff members? No, absolutely not. If you take away all the bad stuff he did, then yeah, he was the better manager most of the time, but that doesn't change the fact that he was a manipulative creep abusing his position to take advantage of female staff and players, some of whom were underage, for his own sexual gratification. I unfortunately wasn't aware of the involvement of minors in this situation until after the first video was posted. I mentioned that it was suspected, but it hadn't been confirmed to me at the time, and if I had known, I probably would have done the first video a bit differently to keep a more serious tone throughout, and emphasize just how atrocious his actions were, and I do regret that I wasn't aware of that beforehand. What are your favorite expansion packs throughout the Sims series? Oh, I was hoping someone would ask a question about The Sims. So throughout the entire series, all the years of The Sims, Sims 2 was peak Sims. I feel like those expansion packs had the most content and therefore the most value, more bang for your buck, with Sims 3 also being kinda close in that regard. Sims 1 had good packs, but obviously was the first game, it was a really long time ago, they were still kinda testing the waters. Then there's Sims 4, which has DLC for its DLC because they want to squeeze every last dime out of their players. But I can't stop playing it because it's just so pretty! But throughout the entire series, I think Seasons is my favorite since it's been a consistently good pack, except for the first game since Seasons wasn't introduced until Sims 2, which of course had the best variation. But no matter which iteration of the game, it always adds a great deal of realism, which I greatly enjoy, and a little variety so that each sim day isn't constantly the same. Pets is a very close runner-up since that actually exists across all 4 games, but I'm still slightly bitter about a chunk of the pack being chopped off from Sims 4 to be put into a separate stuff pack to charge more money. Do you think you're ever going to make your own public Minecraft server? Funny thing about that, I actually did have a server that was still in the process of being made for a while, a couple years ago. It was intended to be just a normal survival server with some added permissions and special ranks, nothing like Hypixel has with minigames and stuff, but it was actually going to be a thing. But the problem was, I don't know a damn thing about getting a server running, or coding, or anything like that. Technology and I just don't mix. So I had a friend helping me for a while until they got too busy, and after that I thought about finding someone else to help. But I just thought to myself, do I really want to spend what little free time I have monitoring another Minecraft server? Answer to that was a big no, so I ended up scrapping the idea. Maybe one day I'll have my own server, but definitely not anytime soon. What advice would you give to someone who struggles with mental illness? Obviously, this is a more serious question than most of the other ones, so I definitely want to give it the respect it deserves, especially since I know there are likely a lot of people in my audience who deal with some kind of mental illness and could maybe benefit from this. Though it goes without saying, once again, I'm not a mental health professional, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. Of course, there's different types of mental illness that come in varying degrees of severity, so what works for others may not be effective for you. Some people require therapy, others might need medication. Some people could get by without either of those. Regardless of which category you fall into, it is nothing to be ashamed of, and it's completely okay to ask for help. We go to regular appointments for our physical health, take vitamins and supplements to keep our bodies functioning as optimal as possible, so our mental health should be just as important. I've been struggling with mental health problems for pretty much my entire adult life, so I know what it's like to feel as if there's 1,000 pounds of weight on your shoulders, to feel as if there's no light at the end of the tunnel. So I will say, it's going to be okay. You are going to be okay. And I think that is a good place to leave this video. If you have any questions you would like to ask, then leave them in the comments, and based on the rate I post these, I'll answer it in about 2 years or so. Special thank you to Ferrothorn88 for helping me out with this video, and also to my executive producer tier patrons Doggy Zerbay, Doha, Emily, Jordan, Kyle, Tinix Fan, and Zahilla. You guys are so awesome and amazing and wonderful and fantastic and all the positive descriptive words. Thank you to everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe if you have not already. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye!